Tamara would have been 25 today.
Tonight, the community marks 20 years since Tamara Keepness vanished in Regina. And the Riders keep their winning streak alive with a solid performance from their backup QB.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, July 5th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. A community gathering in Regina today for a somber anniversary. It's been 20 years since 5-year-old Tamara Keepness was last seen in Regina. Today, a barbecue marked the occasion.
It's been a long time since Tamara's gone, but she's still in our hearts, and I know a lot of our families continue to, pray to see if something would, open up one day.
To remember Keepness, she's a member of Women of the Dawn, a group that offers counseling and other support to urban Indigenous women. 20 years ago, Tamara Keepness's family came to her for help. She says it's sad that the girl didn't have the chance to show the world what she may have accomplished.
It's so sad, to think about that Tamara would have been 25 today, right? Tamara would have been, I heard that she's a twin, and she would have been involved with the community because a lot of her family is involved with Women of the Dawn and other agencies. So, it's hard. It's hard to think about what has happened to our children, but Tamara is one of those young ladies we'll never forget as a community.
Kennedy says barbecues like this are important for the community so they can see Regina police are not giving up on finding Tamara. The case is still active, but despite hundreds of interviews and a $50,000 reward, the girl has not been seen since she vanished. And now that time has passed, another community advocate hopes people remember Tamara as a little girl who was loved. Chastity Delorme's 2 daughters were around the same age as Tamara when she disappeared. Delorme helps families get the right resources to search for their missing loved ones. She says the immediate police investigation back in 2004 may have been clouded by judgment toward the Indigenous community.
I do think now if a situation like that were to happen, yes, there would be a little bit of, it would be amped up a little bit more as far as the severity of and the importance of finding or connecting, and not so much judgmental, because we have a great group of advocates now and people that work in MMIW area that won't allow that judgment to supersede the importance of finding a child.
Delorme says MMIWG organizations are needed and support should be given to them, but she also believes authorities need to take guidance from families because they know what they need for their missing loved ones. And a little later in this show, we will hear from CBC's Jeff Leo, who covered the disappearance of Tamara Keepness for years. He'll reflect on his memories of that story and take a deeper look at how the investigation evolved. Saskatchewan's new immigration law has gone into effect. It's meant to draw all immigration authorities under one umbrella and improve employee recruitment and protection. The Immigration Services Act is also cracking down on immigration fraud and exploitation. The province has raised fines by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Organizations see the new legislation as a way to crack down on people trying to exploit immigrant workers. They also hope it will help with worker retention.
So we hope that will be improved by maybe some of the measures that are going to be taken here or supported by this legislation of the province to provide the incentives and the welcoming and the community that immigrants need.
Fines for going against the act increased from a maximum of $50,000 to $750,000 for individuals. For corporations, it jumped from a $100,000 maximum to $1.25 million. The province says these are the highest fines in the country. There's been another high-profile resignation at the City of Regina. The Deputy Manager of Financial Strategy and Sustainability is leaving his post. This morning, the city confirmed Barry Lacey's contract has not been renewed. Today is his final day after working for the city for 7 years. City manager Nikki Anderson thanked Lacey for his time in the role. His departure means every city executive who was in place at the start of 2022 has now either been fired, retired, or quit. The city's finances have been under a microscope during Mayor Sandra Masters' term. She says she wants it to be easier for residents and councillors to understand the city's finances. A computer program is offering a graphic glimpse of the future that climate change could hold, specifically rising sea levels and associated coastal erosion. It's been developed in Prince Edward Island, where those problems will be critical. Nancy Russell has more.
Are they vulnerable because it's low-lying as well?
This is Clive. With a few clicks on the game controller, Adam Fennick can make sea level rise and fall, putting some communities and homes underwater.
Well, I have to be very careful because it's a very realistic visualization and people take it to heart. I've had people react very emotionally to seeing their houses swamped with water, as you can imagine.
This is a new, updated version of Clive. The original was created in 2013 at the suggestion of some of Fennick's students as a way to show what coastal erosion would look like in decades to come.
And I was hit in the back of the head by gasps from the audience. And I thought, oh, wow, we're really onto something here. This visualization is really effective. I've had people actually crying as a result. So I'm very careful now, a lot more sensitive to people's emotions.
The new Clive uses the latest imagery provided by the provincial government and can zoom in on any location, including areas vulnerable to sea level rise and coastal flooding.
My main message is, of course, don't build so darn close to the shoreline. I'm seduced by the ocean, so I'd love to live right on the coast. But it's not a realistic option anymore on Prince Edward Island under climate change in many places.
This was the first public presentation of the new Clive, with a chance for residents to ask about their properties, including Nora Scales, who remembers the first version of Clive. The new version had some bad news for her summer house on the shoreline.
The flooding is more imminent, it's going to happen more quickly, it's more drastic. In 75 years, my house will be underwater.
Scales describes seeing the coastal flooding as scary, but also inevitable.
Climate change is a fact of life, and those of us with properties on the water have to be sensitive to it. Would I buy another waterfront property? Probably not.
Adam Fennick says Clive can show the future, but the lessons of climate change are also here in the present.
Fiona acted like a big, great white shark taking huge bites out of our province. Certain places lost 15 meters in that one storm. 15 meters, think about that. Clive is the virtual reality. Fiona is the reality.
Nancy Russell, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Well, this is the dream start that every Rough Rider fan has hoped for. With their 30-23 victory over the Toronto Argonauts last night, the Green and White remain undefeated and alone atop the Western Division standings at 4-0. The first time they've started with that record since their Grey Cup winning season in 2013. It was the Green and White's defense that stood out again by forcing 5 turnovers, including a pick-6 late in the fourth quarter. Offensively, it was a solid game for backup quarterback Shea Patterson in his first-ever CFL start. He passed for nearly 200 yards with a touchdown and no interceptions. The hardest part of the game for him was settling his nerves.
A lot of emotions going into it, a lot of emotions through it, and a lot of emotions coming out of it. So just very excited and happy, and fortunate enough to be a part of such a great team, and just got a lot of good men in that locker room, and I think that was a testament to how we handled adversity today.
It was good, and I'm sure when we watch the film and Shea watches the film, he's going to see things that he feels like he can do better. I know he'll attack it that way, but I was just proud of the way, again, he handled himself, starting the way that he did. Being able to move the offense and lead the offense.
The Riders now have a week to prepare for a West Division first-place showdown with the BC Lions. That game is next Saturday at BC Place. Well, the Jazz Fest is gearing up again in Saskatoon. The stage is being set up here in Victoria Park. There are also free concerts throughout the week in the park, as well as other venues around the city. Next week's featured performers include Alexis Normand, Alex Kuba, Shaky Graves, and Jewel. So how will the weather look if you're outside enjoying the music? I'll be back with a look at your full forecast after the break. Hurricane Beryl has been downgraded to a tropical storm and is now making its way into the Gulf of Mexico. The storm lost much of its strength as it crossed the Yucatan Peninsula, but it's expected to regain strength and head toward northern Mexico once it's over the warm waters of the Gulf. Beryl made landfall near the resort town of Tulum just before dawn as a Category 2 hurricane. It brought heavy rain and sustained winds of more than 140 kilometers per hour. It brought down trees, and now power is out in many areas. There have been no reports of deaths or injuries in Mexico, but Beryl is being blamed for at least 11 deaths in the Caribbean. A wildfire is hampering operations at an oil sands project in northern Alberta. Production has been curtailed and non-essential personnel have been taken out of Suncor's Firebag project northeast of Fort McMurray. There are several fires in the area, but they're being managed together. Alberta's wildfire agency says only one of the fires is listed as out of control. It's burning about 8 kilometers from the oil sands project. Suncor says there's no danger right now and the project will be ready to resume as soon as it's safe to do so.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And a live look at Regina, where we have seen some showers and thunderstorms rumbling and rolling through today. And we are also seeing a little bit of that forest fire smoke from Alberta in our province. It's just kind of high haze in the Regina area. But I'll show you now the watch warning map because we do have air quality advisories in place for portions of northern Saskatchewan from those fires. La Loche, Buffalo Narrows, Key Lake, and specifically the one air quality measuring site at Buffalo Narrows now reporting a level 10 plus. That's the highest you can get on the Air Quality Health Index. So whether you have underlying conditions or not, it's really not a good idea to be outside for too long of time. That smoke, well, it's not really being picked up on the surface smoke map here, but you can kind of see that moving through western sections of the province, continuing through the weekend. And Environment Canada says air quality will likely continue to be poor at times. For south and central, we may see a little bit of haze at times over the weekend as well. But of course, for us, it was the showers and the thunderstorms, and those continue to rumble around south central and southeastern parts of the province right now. You can see all those lightning strikes there, all of them staying below severe limits, though. And you can really see on the current temperature map here where those showers are falling, because it's much cooler to the south in a place like Coronach, which is our cool spot at 13, but Meadow Lake, our warm spot, more than 10 degrees warmer at 27. Just a little bit of humidity with that moisture on the ground, making it feel closer to 30 in some spots. And it's really going to warm up as we get into next week. Definitely 30-degree territory as this ridge in the jet stream starts to move eastward. You see those oranges and even red colors. That'll start moving our way into early next week. And along with that, an area of high pressure, which will begin to clear things out. We do have another chance of some pop-up showers and storms tomorrow through much of the province, but then you see how that high pressure starts to move in and starts to clear things out a bit, especially as we head into Sunday and Monday, probably less of a chance of showers. And that high pressure also going to be keeping winds fairly light through these next couple of days here. Breezes may pick up a little bit over 30 at times, but other than that, really not too bad. But we could use the wind because, boy, is it ever going to be hot. A pleasant weekend. Get out and enjoy it if you can. Of course, we heard about some events happening in our province this weekend. And for Regina, things will really start getting going by the middle of next week with the possibility of the Humidex reaching 40 by the time we hit the end of the work week next week. Probably getting into heat warning criteria in both Regina and Saskatoon as we see those overnight lows not even dropping that much below 20 degrees. So here's your heads up now to make sure you're prepared for some intense heat heading into next week. But until then, it looks like we have some nice summer weather ahead of us here through much of the province. Well, a new study is revealing some interesting facts about the humble hippopotamus. Researchers looked at videos of 32 hippos and found that they can actually get airborne when moving at high speeds. But you may be asking, how could we not have known about that, about hippos? Well, it's due to the fact that they spend most of their time in the water, they tend to be aggressive, and are most active at night, so studying them, not so easy. They generally only move fast when they're chasing a rival hippo or a predator is chasing them. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Back to our top story now, the 20th anniversary of the disappearance of Tamara Keepness. The mysterious case has haunted the city of Regina, and CBC's Jeff Leo was one of the first reporters to cover the story. Tonight, he takes a look back at how the investigation unfolded.
This house in a low-income, high-crime neighborhood in the center of town is the center of attention now. All because of Tamara Jewel Keepness. She's been missing since 11 p.m. Monday night. Her brother was the last one to see her.
So this is where Tamara Keepness used to live, the 5-year-old little girl who had a twin sister. She lived in this house with her mom and her stepdad and her 5 siblings. She used to play right here in this yard. Her favorite tree to climb was apparently just down the road.
She has snuck away, but never for this long and never very far. You know, I've always been able to go out and yell for her and, you know, she'll show up like minutes later.
Her mom described her as smart, like Einstein, and her sister remembers that she was a very brave little girl.
She was very outgoing. She liked to play outdoors a lot. She wouldn't let anyone boss her around or pick on her. She was a very tough girl.
So I was in the newsroom on July 7th when my producer told me, you got to head down to Ottawa Street. There's a missing little girl. It was summertime, and the regular national reporter was away, so I was sort of the next one up to cover this really big national story. It was the first time I'd done a national story like this.
Try not to fall apart and do my best to find where she is or find out anything we could find out.
So we don't actually know a lot about what happened the night Tamara went missing. She went to bed. It was July the 5th, upstairs, where she slept with her siblings. Her older brother remembers seeing her. He was probably one of the very last people to see her alive.
I was sleeping and my sister was sleeping with me, and then when I went to bed I woke up, she wasn't there.
So the next morning, Tamara didn't come down for breakfast, so her mom went up looking for her, and she wasn't there. It's really unusual for a child to just disappear, to go missing. If you look at the Regina Police Service's website, they list 17 people who are missing. Only one of them disappeared as a child, and that's Tamara.
We're doing the back.
There were search and rescue crews searching dumpsters and roaming through fields. People were searching on horseback. There were aerial searches. It was all hands on deck. Police say they received hundreds of tips and they followed up on every one of them, including a tip they got from a psychic. So at one point, the police then turned their investigation into what actually happened in that home on the night Tamara disappeared. They determined that there were at least 3 adults that were coming and going in the home that night. Our investigation focused on those 3 people as well. We spoke with Lorena Keepness, who's Tamara Keepness's mom, and Dean MacArthur, her boyfriend.
And I got up and I went and looked and she was gone.
I stayed away from home when I was intoxicated because I didn't want them to see me intoxicated. I just want to always let them know that everything is going to be okay.
There was one other guy we wanted to talk to, and that was a fellow by the name of Russell Sheepskin. Couldn't find him anywhere until he showed up at CBC, said, "I hear you're looking for me, and I'd like to talk to you." And he sat down and did an interview with us as well.
The mom was always, how would you say, she was always gone. Like, I was babysitting. Most times, you know, she'd be gone for, you know, days on end. You know, like, I'd ask the kids, "Is mom home yet?" You know, and they'd say no.
The whole picture of that night is very murky. And a big part of the reason is that all the adults had been drinking that night, and their memories were pretty hazy at best. It seems like police were coming to the same conclusion we were from our investigation, which is,
as many have hoped against, but also quietly feared, criminal interference with Tamra is a distinct possibility.
There were a lot of things that didn't make sense and weren't clear about what happened in the home that night. So just to give you an idea of the chaos that was happening that night, Dean MacArthur and Russell Sheepskin had been drinking pretty heavily, and at one point a fight broke out between the two of them right there on the front porch. Lorena says she was in the home and out of the home throughout the night. So to be clear, all of them say they had nothing to do with Tamra's disappearance and would never have done anything to harm her. And no charges have ever been laid. No trace of Tamra has ever been found 20 years later.
He's dead or alive. That's all I'm asking. Please bring her home alive. Please. Thank you.
It was really in the years following Tamra's disappearance that the whole issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women just became this huge national issue. But for us here in Regina, we already had an example right in front of us of just how important and how personal that whole issue can be. And for anyone who was in Regina on the summer of 2004, they're always going to remember Tamra Keepness. But unfortunately, over time, memories fade, potential witnesses pass away, and the likelihood of us ever finding out what happened to Tamra becomes even less likely. People here say they're frustrated but hopeful that one day Tamra Keepness will be found. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Regina.
Warm overnight tonight in Regina, a temperature of 15 degrees at midnight under partly cloudy skies as those showers and storms come to an end, and partly cloudy morning as well for us. Temperature actually increasing a bit by 8 a.m. It's shaping up to be a pretty nice Saturday for us, 23 on our way to a high of 25, but the possibility of some showers and storms, most of those non-severe, once again tomorrow. And Saskatoon, a pretty similar picture here. We're looking at a temperature of 16 tonight under partly cloudy skies, and that'll stick around for tomorrow morning for us as well. And yes, Saskatoon, the possibility of some showers and storms once again, but a pretty similar daytime high, and a pretty similar picture on Sunday with maybe less of a chance of showers and storms before the heat kicks off next week. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night and a great weekend.